Hello, and here we're going to talk about how to convert fractions, decimals and percentages. So first thing you want to do, well, let's write this out visually so we can see what's going on. So we've got our fractions, our decimals and our percentages. So you can be asked often in any test really to convert either one of these to each other, but recommended thing that I'd always do is always go to the decimals first. It might be to convert two decimals or away from decimals, but the point is to convert to or away from percentages, to or from fractions, you want decimals first. So if you were asked to convert from fractions to percentages, you'd go to decimals first, then to percentages. That's how you do it. So anyway, the first one we'll tackle is fractions to decimals. In order to convert between from fractions to decimals, you need to understand what the fraction symbol really means. I just gave that away. It's division. So if you get something like, let's do a simple one, 4 over 5, 4/5, or divided by 5, it's the same thing. That's what, when you get this symbol, that's what it is really. It's a kind of a fraction symbol. So what you want to do is literally carry out the division it's telling you to do. 4 divided by 5. That line in the middle means divided by. So to do this, you often use the bus stop method. So you'd see here that goes 0, and you get 8, 0.8. Easy as that. Let's do another one. 7/8. Still the same thing. Any numbers, same thing. That's the thing with maths. That's the good thing, is that the method stays the same. As long as you're sure about your method, you'll be right. 0, 8. .875. That sounds about right. So to convert between fractions to decimals, you divide the numerator by the denominator. Okay, so for our next one, I think we're going to follow this round like a circle. We're going to go from decimals to percentages. Okay, so in order to convert from decimals to percentages, it's kind of a case of knowing what percent means again. Percent comes from Latin, which means per 100. So you times whatever your decimal is by 100, which basically means just shifting it along 2 spaces from the decimal place. So if you get something like 0.5, you just times it by 100, which ends up being 50, then obviously you need your percent symbol, which looks like that. It works for more complicated looking decimals as well. So something like, I don't know, they can be however long you want. Anything, it works for anything. Just shift it along by 2 spaces. Yes, there can be a decimal in the percentage as well. It's just as long as you shift it along by 2 place values, then you're fine. Even with numbers above 1, it works. Percentages don't just have to be between 1 and 100. So this would just be 300%. So you times it by 100, you just shift it along by 2 place values. Right, so let's say I wanted to put that together, because remember I said earlier, if you want to convert from fractions to percentages, you need to go to decimals first, then to the percentage. So if I got a fraction, let's try something like, I don't know, 5/6. No, because that, okay, let's try a slightly better one. 3/4. Yeah, we do our division, so 3 divided by 4, and here we're going to get what, 0.75, and then we do our 0.75, we times it by 100, and we get 75%. You can see how I've just kind of done both steps in on one after the other. So I've gone to a decimal first here, then I'll times it by 100 to get my percentage. Let's try that one more time. Let's think of another number to use. A nice one. Let's do 5/8. Okay, so 5/8, same thing as before, same method. Can't fit any there. 6 there. 2 there. 5 there. Okay. And then we get our decimal that we've just got from that division, times it by 100, shift it over by 2, place values, and we get 62.5%. Can't forget that symbol. So yeah, that's how you convert from fractions to percentages. Okay, so now we're going to go kind of background. We're going to go from percentages to decimals. So now we're going this way. Okay, so in order to convert from percentages to decimals, you just do the opposite of what you did last time. You divide by 100 this time. So that means shifting 2 spaces to the right of the decimal point in place value. So let's use the examples we did before. What did we get? We did 50%. Yeah? So we do 50, we divide it by 100. So move that, if we look at it like this, we move it 2 points behind the decimal place, and so we get 0.5. And once again, works with anything. So I think we got like, what, 36.7% last time, maybe? 36.7, we want to go 2 places back. 1, 2, so that's where our 3 is going to be. So that really is 36.7, and divided by 100, that's going to be 0.367. And then we did, what was it, 300%, I believe. And then you're just shifting it 2 places to the right. And then of course you could, if you really wanted, because this does mean divide still, put it as a fraction, and then you'll start seeing these zeros are cancelling. So that's 3/1, which is just 3. Remember that as a fraction, it's exactly the same as division. So in order to convert from percentages to decimals, you're dividing by 100, the opposite of decimals to percentages. Okay, final one now before we put it together again and go from percentages to fractions. This one's the hardest one, I'd say. From decimals to fractions. Let's do it. Now, yeah, this is the hardest one. So, you'll be given a decimal. Let's use 0.75 for our example. And then what we need to realise is that if we divide it by 1, then it stays exactly the same. Anything divided by 1 is itself. So let's display this a bit better. So we know that that's equal to 0.75 divided by 1. Now, what we need to do is get rid of that decimal on the numerator. And how we're going to do that is we're going to times it by either 10, 100,000, just something to shift it along the place value until there's no decimal left. But then we've got to realise anything we do to the numerator, we've also got to do to the denominator to make it, to not change the value, to keep it the same. So how many times are we going to have to shift that across? So that's going to be 2 times here, because 1, 2, yeah? So it's going to be 0.75 times 100 over 1 times 100. And what's that going to be? That's going to be 75 over 100. Now, the issue is, this fraction, well, maybe on some tests you'll be able to leave it like this, but it's best not to. You're going to want to simplify. So now, you need to realise, well, the obvious one here is they're both going to be in the 5 times tables. They're not so obvious, but you know, you'd get there eventually. So you can divide top and bottom by 25. Remember, you need to do the same to top and bottom in order to keep it equal, to keep it the same, to keep the value the same. So this would be 3/4. So what we've done, just to recap, on this step, so number 1, divide by 1. This is the first step. And the second step, we've got rid of decimals, so get rid of decimal in the numerator. And then the third step is we've simplified. Okay, so for just one conversion, this is a lot of steps to remember. So let's do another example of this just to solidify it. Okay, so what about 0.375? So our first step is to divide it by 1, okay. And then we need to get rid of the decimal in the numerator. So we know now we've got to times it by 1,000, because there's 3 points past the decimal place. And then if we times 1 by 1,000, it's 1,000. Okay. Now this isn't obvious what we're going to have to divide top and bottom by to simplify, but obviously we can simplify it because they're both in the 5 times tables. So do it slowly, don't rush it, don't try and do it in your head. Just use the bus stop again. I mean, it's quite quick. I mean, you know, I'd rather be doing anything else than doing the bus stop, but it's okay. Now again, yeah, we're going to have to simplify that again. And 200 divided by 5, 0 to... Hopefully that becomes more obvious, but one more time just for good measure. I want to rush that, but you know. Well, the bus stop doesn't really help there, but okay, whatever. Or here, actually. Okay, anyway. 3/8 is our answer. So you can see here the biggest step is this simplifying part. That's the difficult part with this. Just seeing what can simplify. Now, obviously, calculators can do this for you nowadays, so it's not that hard to do, but still on non-calculator papers, you're going to want to have an eye out. Just little things like both of them end with a 5 and a 0. Oh, it can be cancelled down by a factor of 5 then. Cool. Now there's one other way to really do this, and it's kind of by inspection. So what I mean by this is that's a long method. You're going to waste some time doing that. So if you take decimals, fractions, you could learn the first few of these, it'd just be good, because you'd be able to get this off of inspection then. So 0.5 is a half, we know this. 0.3 recurring is 1/3. 0.25 is 1/4. You know, it's fine if you don't have the sense to do this. You know, if you don't, I don't mean that as in like, you know, but when you've been doing this for quite a while, you kind of get a sense for, yeah, you can convert them without thinking about it because you've remembered this. 1/7 you're never really gonna see. Yeah. Then 1/8. I wonder what 1/7 is. Let's find out what 1/7 is. And remember how to do that. Of course it's going to be a recurring, but let's say 0.14. Well, yeah, you don't really need to remember that one. And then 0.1 recurring is 1/9. And then 0.1 is 1/10. If you could remember these, because then these are what the majority of the numerators, the denominators are going to be. It's going to be one of these numbers. And then obviously if you get something like 3/5, that's 3 times 1/5, so therefore it's 3 times 0.2, so it's 0.6. So when you can remember these, you can also remember the multiples of them. So for example, any of these, 0.725 is 3 times 0.125. So you'd instantly be able to recognise, oh, it's 3 times 1/8, 3/8. And it just takes away this whole clump of, yeah, it's just not nice to do. Same with 0.75. You'd realise that's 3 times 0.25, so it's 3 times 1/4, 3/4. I mean, it's a bit more to remember, but if it takes a lot of time out and it makes it easier for you, be my guest. Now, putting these two steps together one last time, percentages to fractions. Okay, so let's start with a familiar one. 37.5%. How do we convert that to a decimal first? Remember, always decimals first. You divide it by 100. So you shift that 2 times to the right of the decimal place value and stuff. 0.375. Now, if we look back at our table, we can recognize that instantly as 3/8. But let's assume you don't remember that, then we're going through our whole process again. And then eventually getting 3/8. Anyway, that's just one you recognize, but let's do a proper one now. Right, okay. So, what about 2/5? 40% even, which will be 2/5, but it's about the method. 40%, okay. So shift it to the right 2 times, so basically 40 divided by 100, 0.4. Okay, now we put 0.4/1, that's also equal to 4/10, and then all these numbers are both even, so that's equal to, so we divide top and bottom by 2, 4 divided by 2, 2, 10 divided by 2, 5 equals 2/5. Okay, one more example just because, you know, it's kind of a long one. Let's do 70%, sorry. 70%, same thing again really. You can see how this becomes kind of, once you've learned the procedure, it's a procedure. It gets quite monotonous just because well, there's nothing new to it really. Can you simplify that? No, because 7's prime. It hasn't got any of the factors. So that's that done. It's just putting again the two we've done before, going from percentage to decimals, decimals to fractions. But it's just remembering that you've got to get the decimals first, because that makes it easier. Okay, so just to recap one last time, to go from fractions to decimals, you want to divide numerator by, well, we could just put numerator divide denominator. Yeah, that's what you do. Now decimals to percentages, you get your decimal, you times it by 100. Percentage to decimals, you get your percentage, and you do the opposite, you divide it by 100. These two aren't the hardest to remember. I suppose you could get the weight mixed up, but no one does that. Decimals to fractions, you do that whole procedure. So let's write it out again. 1 divide decimal by 1, get rid of decimal in the numerator. Is that going to fit? Just about. And 3, simplify. So that is your whole process. That is your complete guide on how to convert between fractions, decimals and percentages. But yeah, I can't stress anymore, always go to decimals first. So yeah, I really hope well, not many people enjoy this type of thing, but I really hope you found this video helpful. I know exams are coming up, some exams are happening, some have happened. So I hope you find this useful and subscribe for more. And please don't be shy to like the video.